Hi, my name is Jamie Greaves. I am 21 years old, and I have a little girl. Her name is Khaleesi May Greaves, and she is almost 4 months old. She was born on the 15th of May 2020 in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was very, very hard. The only reason why I am speaking about this now and coming forward about things that happened and the things that didn't go right is because I finally not gotten over with the trauma, but I'm dealing with it a lot better. Obviously, I'm not saying that every birth is going to be traumatic or anything like that, but mine was, and I know that a lot of women would probably most likely maybe have a more worse experience for us. Let me get my words out. Probably have and maybe have had a worse experience than me, but for me, having my first baby and it also being in the middle of a pandemic, it was really, really hard. I was supposed to have a home birth. I didn't end up getting my home birth because a lot of things went wrong with the midwife, so there was some miscommunication. So then I had to go to hospital whilst I was in labour. If you do want me to go, well, I will be going in depth more about my labour and the things that did go wrong in my labour. This is just a short, quick little story. So I was at home. I went into labour. The midwives came round, told me that I shouldn't really be having a home birth because again there was some miscommunication and some complications that I didn't know about. So I ended up going to the hospital. I had no food or no water for 36 hours that I was in labour. Which was really, really rough. My husband was allowed there because we went straight to the labour ward, so he was allowed there. Whereas if we went into the pre-labour ward, he wouldn't be allowed. But because I was already in labour, that didn't really matter. So yeah, I was in labour, didn't have any food or water for 36 hours. And it was hard and it was really rough. I was hoping to either, like I said, have a home birth, non-medicated, or have a water birth. I was asking the ladies if the bath was free, and they only have one in the hospital that I have. I'm not going to disclose the hospital that I have, and yeah, they only had one, which I think is really silly. Thousands and thousands of women give birth every single day, and they can pick their birth, and they're supposed to have decisions and a say in how their birth progresses and how they go into labour, and I never got to do that. I never got to have a say in anything really that happened. I just got told. I understand, yes, it was for my baby's safety, But if they listened to me in the first place, I would have had a choice in what was happening. Yeah, so in the end, I had to have an episiotomy and the forceps. If you don't know what an episiotomy is, please do your own research on that. And if you don't know what the forceps are, again, please do your own research. But yeah, so I had to have the episiotomy and the forceps. With the episiotomy, it included an injection inside. Yeah, that was quite painful. I was pushing for an hour with my little girl as the labour was progressing slowly and not as fast as they wanted it to. They thought that my water had already broke, which it did, but not all of it didn't. And it was sort of blocking her head. So that was one of the struggles. And also the fact that I hadn't eaten or drank in so long. Yeah. Sorry, it's quite hard and it's really emotional for me to talk about it. She was also back to back, which I kept telling the nurses that were there that she was back to back, and they kept saying no, she wasn't. Then when it came to me pushing, she was back to back. They left me pushing for an hour before they finally got a doctor in to say that I can't give birth on my own. I'm gonna need some assistance, and because I'd been pushing for so long, I didn't get a choice in how I birthed her. They came in and said, right, we need to do an episiotomy and you're gonna have forceps. And because I was in so much pain, they just needed to get her out. I did end up having some pain relief. I was on gas and air and I ended up having diamorphine. But when I asked for, actually no, I'm not going to say, because that can go in the next video where I go in a little bit more depth, but I ended up having gas and air and diamorphine. Yeah, it was quite hard, and my labour after was quite hard as well. I hemorrhaged. Thank God the doctor, sewed me up nice and quickly. And I hemorrhaged quite a bit. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be sat here with my daughter and telling this story. So yeah, and then after she was born, my husband cut the cord, and she went onto the breast brilliantly, and I went for a shower. I'll be going in depth about that as well. It's going to be a little bit more graphic in my next video, so if you don't want to hear things like that or anything like that, then please just don't watch that video. But yeah, and so my husband got to spend a couple of hours with me and my daughter. If you can hear her, she's asleep next to me. Yeah, so he got to spend a couple of hours with us, put her first nappy on and everything like like that, got her changed, and then we went down to like the pre-delivery / after delivery ward, and I was in there for 3 days. I came home on her actual due date, so she was born on the 15th, she was supposed to be born on the 17th. I came home that afternoon on the 17th, and for them days he was not allowed in. I had to breastfeed her for every 2 hours for them 3 days, and that was hard because obviously I had been in labour for 36 hours and then I had to breastfeed her every 2 hours, and I couldn't really catch up on my sleep, not until I got home. I also had to have a small blood transfusion on my own. That was something to do with my iron levels being so low, because of how much blood I hemorrhaged. Yeah, it was hard. My husband couldn't see her for the 3 days. None of my family got to see her. And I had to basically get over the trauma from her birth whilst I was in hospital on my own, because some of the midwives are really nice and they're brilliant and they do an amazing job. Some of them don't really care. To them you're just another person who's had a baby. They don't really care what you've been through. Yeah. And I had to do that on my own. And with rules and conditions. That's like another thing that you have to follow. But yeah, in my next video I will be going through about what I've talked about, but a little bit more in depth. A lot more stuff happened, but obviously this is just more of a quick story about what giving birth in a pandemic was like. But yeah, in my next video we'll be going in depth about my labour, about my after labour, about my feelings, about body parts, about things that people don't really tell you, that I think you should be told. But yeah, thank you. Give this video a thumbs up, and please comment any questions or anything you'd like me to answer in the next video. And I'm gonna start doing a lot more of these. But yeah, thank you. Bye.